Good morning. Today is July 28th, 2024, and you are at NGL intro, and the intro is, what does liberation for all mean within the context of differences in power and privilege?
Thank you, Randy. Your voice was very soft, and I hope it was on the recording. Hi, everyone. It's a very small group today, and it's particularly important when it's a small group that the video cameras are on as much as is possible and within capacity for you. It dramatically changes the felt sense of being together holding something rather than being separate, where I, and in this case also Menaka and Aurelia, are doing something for the benefit of others who are not participating. I want to break down that thing. And I do know that sometimes there are specific situations that make it impossible for people to have their camera on, and I'm happy to accept that. And it's just a general invitation to please be here as a full participant. Thank you. And I would like to welcome here people I know and cherish and have been on many screens with. And I want to particularly welcome people who are here for the first time. I'm sorry, just one. Okay. So I'm calling from a context, as you can see, where there are a bunch of us together. We're doing a community living experiment, and so there's more commotion than usual. There's also very poor internet, so I'm just crossing fingers. We've tried many things, and we'll see if we have enough internet to get through this. I want to particularly welcome anyone who's here in this context for the first time and would like to ask what led you to choose to be here. And I think Winky, I don't recall seeing your face before. Is that true? Are you willing to say what got you here? Yeah.
Sure. I found out about your work. You just moved places on my screen. Through the Resilience Toolkit and NCHEM and DEFO, who recommended your work as a way of understanding organizational change from a liberatory perspective.
Thank you. And so it didn't matter if the topic was liberation for all in the context of power and privilege, or it would be some other topic. You were here because you wanted to see how much relevance there is to what we're doing here, from what we're doing here to your own involvement in life. Yeah, welcome. Is there anyone else who is new or anyone who is here specifically because of the topic? I'd like to hear what brings you here. Just one or two more people. It gives me juice to do the work. Each of you chose to be here, so there's got to be a reason. I don't think we just program our clicks. So I'm wondering if any of you are willing to share. What is the reason? What brought you here today?
I'm actually going to build. Oh, yes. I'm going to build on my response, which is to say that the topic itself is particularly relevant, as I am a person of privilege trying to decolonize my understanding of and participation in the larger world.
Thank you. Leah or Leah, people pronounce it differently.
Sorry. Hi, Mickey. I'd be here whichever intro it was. I've been coming along to the RTTC and have recently joined as an NGL friend, and I'm just very hungry to learn everything I can. But yes, as Winky said, it's very relevant to me as somebody who feels in a privileged position and wanting to know what I can do and grow and learn about.
One of the very, very deep paradoxical lines that I am familiar with is, how do we engage with any privilege that we have without making it wrong that we have privilege, without making it wrong to be who we are, without making it wrong that we may make mistakes, without making it wrong that others don't trust us. It's so difficult to walk that line, and I'm really hoping that we can shed some light on that too today. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right. I'm going to renew my invitation to people to turn on your camera, if at all possible. And then the rest of the time is primarily yours. This is not a standard thing of like, okay, you're coming here and I come prepared with this content and spiffy slides. I am kind of done with that, at least for a while. It was very taxing to do all those NGL intros that I did for over a year. Really a lot of effort to prepare. It's not effort in terms of how many hours it took. It's something about the internal mobilization to synthesize and condense and bring it forward and stick with it was quite high. And I now am experimenting with this different format in which it's based on questions, what you want to know in relation to the topic. And I gave a bunch of things and resources ahead of time that people could engage with and open to questions. And I also want to note that Aurelia and Menaka are here with me. We are together on the Power and Privilege holding team within NGL and holding these questions together in a deep place of inquiry and experimentation. And I'm hoping that you will chip in whenever you move to.
Yeah.
It's very odd. We are sitting on one screen to minimize the internet load. If we were sitting on three screens, none of them would come through. So here we are. There's an option of putting you in small groups so that you can engage with each other and come up with questions. Or if there are questions that at least some people already came prepared with, we can start there. Let's see if questions are ready. And if not, Randy, do you know how to create groups? So Randy is going to work on creating groups. And in the meantime, if anyone actually has a question already, feel free to raise your hand. I guess not. Randy, if you're talking to us, you're muted. Yes, Winky, you've got something.
It's actually not specifically about the topic. I'm wondering if it's not too redundant for other people, if you could give a brief overview of NGL. I actually don't really know that much about it, and how it is that we're coming to this conversation today.
I think I'd like to consult with the two of you. Does it make sense to you for me to answer this
I
question?
have a suggestion that we do the small groups. And if at the end we have time, we can take a bit of time to explain NGL and how this topic in particular fit in the framework of NGL. Yeah, works for you, Winky?
Thank you.
Great.
Randy, yes, sure.
I was just going to say that I've come with many questions, and that's why I have a sense that being in part of a small group first will be able to finesse my question and have it be able to serve the whole more. So I just want you all to know that it's not that I haven't come with questions, but I think that there are so many and so wide, because the readings you provided are so vast and so wide as well too. So yeah.
In the end, there are going to be 5 learning packets, or at least that's what it looks like now. I initially thought there were going to be 2, then it became 3, then it became 4. Now it's 5, and I don't know if it is going to keep giving birth to new ones. And I am, 3 of them are complete. I am working on the 4th one, and there's a 5th one that is still just notes. The one that I'm working on right now is one of the most difficult pieces of writing I've ever done that I can remember. It's called Restoring Togetherness in the Context of Differences in Power and Privilege. And it's already 90 pages and I'm not done with it. So yes, there is a lot. And a big part of why there is a lot is because the framework of liberation for all, it's not a common one. So there isn't a lot that I can say, oh, go read this book or that book, and then you will learn. It's like there's a need to actually articulate, make the distinctions, the similarities, the overlaps, the questions, the confusions, all of that to make it explicit. And that takes quite a lot of thinking and sweating. Yeah. So yes, there's a lot.
Yeah. If we're still
Randy,
waiting for the groups,
ready?
I could give some headlines, but otherwise I'm happy to go in a group.
Are you ready with the groups?
Yes.
Okay, then let's open the rooms. And let's do it for like 10 minutes. Welcome back. I hope that this little bit of time with each other gave you an opportunity to prepare. And let's see what questions we have now. Maybe Shara was able to narrow it down. No? Then just pick one at random from your list. We got to start somewhere. Okay, Jane saved you. Go, Jane.
From our group, we looked mostly at your blog because there were 8 ways of engaging with privilege that were very specific in that blog. And we read them, and the blog, for anybody else, is called You're Not a Bad Person, How Facing Privilege Can Be Liberating. And we thought that stewarding privilege for the benefit of all is a huge question and a beautiful one. And I think it was Udi who said, I'd love to have a specific practice that I could do in that regard, something like a baby step that you could track throughout your day as to how I'm stewarding it. So that's our question.
I don't know if I wrote about it in the blog post itself. I know that I applied it myself at a certain point. So just to take a step back for those who may have not read that post, one day this framing came to me that there are 4 very common ways that people relate to their own privilege. And each of them has a liberation move from it to a way of engaging with our privilege that is much more aligned with liberation for all and with even care for ourselves. And so I'm going to review this really briefly. A lot of people tend to deny to themselves and to others that they have privilege. The most amazing example of it is the rigged Monopoly game. This is a series of studies that was made where people are randomly assigned to one of two positions in a Monopoly game. In one of them, the person receives an extra 2,000 of whatever the currency of the Monopoly game is, and a few other specific benefits like this, like when they cross the thing, they get double, they don't need a thing to get out of jail, whatever it is, it doesn't really matter, but they have very clear benefits. And the other person doesn't have them, and they start playing. And of course, almost invariably, the person for whom the Monopoly game is rigged, they win almost always. And then at the end, they are asked what made it possible for them to win, or why the game ended the way that it did. And the person without the benefit says, duh, you dude had the benefits. Of course you won. And the person with the benefits almost invariably says, no, I just played well. This, to me, captures the essence of denial of privilege. It's not my privilege, it's my hard work that got me to where I am. I just am curious of the people who are on the screen. Raise your hand if you've ever had some kind of that thought, or you've heard others say that kind of thought. Raise your hand if you're familiar with this. So it clearly is there. So moving from there to just recognizing, yes, I have privilege. It makes all the difference in the world. It makes my life different from the life of others, is quite a step. But it's a step of liberation because it aligns us more with truth instead of having a tear within us between what the reality is and what we want to believe that it is. So that's one move. Then if we even recognize that we have privilege, very often we will respond to it with guilt and shame, as if having privilege says something about me. I am a bad person. As if privilege is an attitude or something that I'm doing, when the reality is that privilege is something that happens and that we can't get rid of. It's not possible to get rid of privilege because it's not something that is mine. It's something that has been given to me by a social order. And sure, if I have the privilege from when I was born, I will be trained in particular ways that will reinforce it. But fundamentally, it's a systemic phenomenon. When I can do that, learn the history, learn the context, it can bring immense sorrow. And I believe any day that immense sorrow beats guilt and shame. There's this joke that I love that it says that there's no situation that is bad enough that you can't make it worse by adding a little bit of guilt to it. So that's the second transformation. Then the third one is often we're quite defensive about our privilege, especially if somebody gives us feedback about some way that we are acting out unconsciously or consciously, something that comes from the training that privilege brings with it. What are we likely to say? No, that's not what I meant. Right? We all know that one. It's not no, this is not what I meant. This is not my intention. As if intention in itself changes what the impact is. And it takes a step to shift from defensiveness to actually opening ourselves to receive feedback so we can learn how privilege functions, because we won't learn it from within. It's going to be invisible to us. So if we open ourselves to hearing from others, that thing that you said is male training. That thing that you did is what white people usually do. That thing that you did is heterosexual assumptions. All of these things we won't know unless somebody tells us. So opening to the feedback, making ourselves really receptive is a huge step of opening our experience. And even then, there's some way of holding on to the privilege as if the benefits of it are mine, even if it came to me in a way that is on the backs of others. Still, it's mine. I get to keep it. And I don't know if it's in the post or not, a true life story of a woman I knew who had 3 brothers and 2 sisters, and one day learned that there was a trust fund in her family that every time somebody died, gave money to all the living males. There was nothing that went to the females. They actually weren't supposed to even know about it. And so when they confronted their brothers, what did their brothers say? And this is particularly an easy situation because it's 3 brothers, 3 sisters. Each brother could have taken a sister, divided his thing in half. Easy to solve. What the brothers said is, I didn't set it up. That's how it was set up. As if that means it has to be that way. I can't change it. There's nothing else that's possible. So all this, now we come to this radical transition from saying, this is mine, to saying, this was given to me through one means or another, and it isn't mine. It's part of the entire interdependent web of life. And it is my responsibility to care for it so it will create the most benefit. That move is immensely difficult. I've put about 8 years of my life into trying to form connections with people in positions of power and wealth. I had an entryway through someone that I met at a training that she took. And she and I tried to create events for her group, tried to do all kinds of things. And it was a very typical thing. Every time I met a new group, at first they were super excited because they saw the practical applications of tools for collaboration. The moment they got the deeper layer of what I am asking for in this picture of life, they would disappear. There wasn't anything in their excitement that had any willingness in it to shift their orientation from caring for self to caring for the whole. So the shift is huge. And what you asked me about is not the shift in general, but what does it look like concretely? So I want to give an example from me. It's a tiny example, but maybe we can take a bit of time to see for each person what that might look like. Mine came in the wake of the, I can't see, there's so much police brutality that I don't remember the particular name of the person that it was. It was, I think, 2015. And it was a big, massive case in the US because it was one of the early ones that made it to prominence. And it was in Flint, Michigan. Does anybody remember the name of the person? Could it have been Michael Brown? I don't know. Anyway, the police officer was acquitted. And there was a lot of protesting. And I was left with the question, what's mine to do here? And then I realized a resource that I had and still have. I'm going to wait because I'm answering Jane's question and she was distracted. Yeah. A big resource that I have had then and still have now. Oh, Jane, I'm unsure what to do since I'm answering your question. I would like to wait. Thank you. It's a very tiny thing of this isn't mine, this is ours, and I want to honor you as a fellow human. So the resource that I discovered that I had then and still have is the presence of many people, not millions, but definitely hundreds and thousands, not hundreds of thousands, but hundreds or thousands of people who look to me for guidance on things. And so I started offering calls at the time. I no longer offer them, but I was offering them for a number of years. The calls were called Facing Privilege. And I imagine that some people who are on this call, I know Noor was on some of those calls. And I offered them once a month, and then I offered them twice a month. And it was a way in which I mobilized a resource that I had for the benefit of all. One resource that you have, Jane, is white skin. Now, what does that mean? It means that in certain situations, you can do certain things, and there's less risk to you than if those very same things were done by someone with a darker skin. Do you know what I'm talking about? So, for example, if you are in a situation and you see something that looks to you like discrimination, you can use your white skin privilege to step in and say, wait a minute, I'm not okay with what is happening. That is using your privilege not to protect yourself from danger, to walk towards whatever the situation is so that you can be of service.
Mhm.
That's an example. Is that enough to answer your question, or is there more?
That would mean that it's not a daily, well, could be a daily practice. However, it might depend on the situation coming up. If there were a specific practice, maybe an internal one that,
Okay.
yeah.
Yeah, there is something you can do. There's something that you can do, and some people have done it, is you can start listing all the resources that you have, both material and non-material. So you have a long list of all your resources. And in relation to each of them, you look at how you're using it. Are you using this resource in line with your values and purpose in life? Are you using this resource in a way that cares for the whole? Are you using this resource to protect yourself? Are you using this resource to make yourself open and available. There are many questions you can ask. And once you have the whole thing listed, you can look at the list every morning and pick a resource and say, how am I going to use this resource today?
That's very doable, I think. Thank you. I love practices that are very concrete in the material world, and I can put a list on my wall or a reminder on my phone. So thank you for that, Nikki.
Yeah, and one thing to add here is that very often when people think about resources, they think money. And I am encouraging everyone, if you want to do this practice, put every last resource. There was a pivotal moment in my life when I realized that the largest asset that I have is the many people who have studied with me, who have read the materials, who have benefited from what I have done, who care about me, care about what I'm doing, and want me to continue to be able to do the work. That's a huge asset. You can't translate it into money. But on a great day, it might be possible. Yeah? Unequating money with resources is a step of liberation. Curious if anyone has any follow-up to Jane's question, and also whether either of you wants to add anything. Any follow-up? All right. So back to Shar.
Thanks, Nikki. I've recently been watching some presentations that are I mean, I've known about, I guess, the threat to humanity, all of us, but I've just recently been watching something that's like shown that the threat of artificial intelligence and what that might mean. And I guess what I'm aware of, part of my question is that like the privilege around knowledge and sense making and understand like the current reality where we absolutely are as a human species on this beautiful planet at this time, and then the privilege of some people being able to have that knowledge or be able to understand it, so that where all of our life force is going is not just recreating the same thing, but actually is working towards is life serving. And so I guess I'm holding those questions, and I mean I really love what you're saying, like at that my practical level, what can I do every day that connects with my resources? And maybe it's just some privilege to actually even be able to just think about the global kind of what's happening kind of in the world. I suppose part of my question is like to be able to, because you shared some stuff around vision, and so is vision also limited by being able to understand really where we are in the current reality and the privilege that's connected with that?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. What you're bringing me to, I want to not get into the artificial intelligence discussion because I want
No,
to
we
be
don't need
able
to go
to,
to the
when
specifics
I
of
think
that.
about
Yeah.
this, I'm so frightened. And there's so few people who actually have what's the word? The combination of knowing enough about it and simultaneously not being enthralled by it is a very narrow band within which I could imagine having conversations with people, and it's very rare. And otherwise, I try to stay away from it. I think I want to just focus on the question of knowledge and what we can do with knowledge that we have in relation to walking towards vision. And I can share about a project that someone I knew had. The project is no longer happening, but I loved it when it happened. The woman was an economist, and it's very clear that one of the things that keep people enslaved to the system is that economics is made into this gobbledygook that nobody can understand. And what she did is she had a little project in which she gave economics classes to impoverished semi-literate women. And that, to me, is a very direct way of doing the thing that you're talking about. And it's only an example. Another example is the whole project of Paulo Freire is exactly this, because on the flip side of the knowledge privilege is the example of, all right, I'll come teach you. I have knowledge. I'll teach you. Now you will know. And I'm superior to you because I have the knowledge. And finding the right measure of bringing knowledge to disempowered people in a way that empowers them to think and find their own agency is not it's not a small project. And he experimented and got so good at it that he had to flee Brazil. I imagine you know that. He went into exile for a long time before he could go back to Brazil. But in the process, he developed a method. So that is something that you or anybody else with knowledge can think about how to apply it. And the method is to create reflection tools for people that create the conditions for them to think critically about their conditions. Because the overwhelming majority of people don't think critically about their conditions. And that unifies people with privilege and people without privilege. We're not trained to think critically about the conditions that make our own life, our own dailiness. So being able to do that, if you can do that, then you are definitely using the knowledge privilege for the benefit of all. I'm wondering if that's enough, or you have a follow-up.
That's really helpful. And almost kind of the other day when we talked about those raise hand questions, so actually like formulating those questions so that, because everyone is, we're all caught within the system. So being able to actually formulate those questions, so that's really, 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 really helpful. Yeah, I think I have other questions around, like I just see what's
just before
happening.
Shah,
Oh, yes.
before, there is something I also want to add. Something that I'm a bit experimenting is when I'm thinking of wanting new knowledge, thinking of who this knowledge will be in service of, and why not co-discerning with others. So for instance, I have done a therapist training, and I did this therapist training because I'm doing trainings with certain people. And when I was doing trainings, a lot of emotional things were emerging. So the choice of doing the training was not because I wanted the knowledge, it's because it was in service of the people I was in service of. And I think that experimenting around collective choice about who is acquiring or who is learning which knowledge is also a different way to connect to it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's interesting because it implies togetherness and shared resources. Because if we are a group that holds resources in as a shared pool, if I know economics, you don't need to. If you know sociology, I don't need to. And if we distribute the knowledge, then between us, we can become one hell of a powerful hub of knowledge. But if each one of us needs to learn everything because that's how we protect ourselves or become more resilient or whatnot, then we're wasting resources and it's not for the benefit of all. Nice one. Yeah.
And I want to add one element, which is the element of also redundancy. How when we have knowledge, when we're going to use it, we can do it in a way that others are going to learn with us. So if I know specific things and I'm going to apply this knowledge, how I can have other people present at that moment. So slowly, those people are also going to learn. So those are small things that can help get out of seeing the knowledge as something individual, but more like something collective. And I think that's something that was really helpful for me, was I realized with working with Mickey that I wanted to have a lot of knowledge so I would be unique. So I was really based, the basis of my trust of knowledge was scarcity. I need to be unique, so I'm asked to come to do coaching, to do this, to do that. So I need to accumulate a lot of knowledge. So I think this is something internal where a shift is needed to be able to think creatively of how we can relate to knowledge differently and more in service of the world.
I want to check something with you, and I don't know if we ever talked about this, because I am now looking at that question within a racialized context, that as a woman with darker skin, you need to prove yourself to be better and more along two dimensions, both being female and being darker skinned.
Yeah.
And so it makes systemic sense for you to want to have a lot of knowledge to yourself to be unique. And that in the context of coming into being part of a larger whole that you can trust cares for you, that intensity of needing to do that diminishes. And I'm curious, if that feels true, and if you sense, now that you're part of a larger whole, if you sense any reduction in that. And of course, there are 17 other variables. It's not causal, but I'm just curious.
Yes, it makes a lot of sense, the link that you're making about being a person of color and the knowledge. Also because in France, this is really a strategy that is very present for people who are first or second generation of migration, of like knowledge is what will get you out of poverty or difficulty or whatever. So it's something that was very much invested in my family. And the second thing is, yes, being in a place where there is interdependence, this is, I see that is less present because I do develop this trust that my needs are going to be taken into consideration, but sometimes it spikes up. Sometimes it comes back about just like, oh, what I know, everyone knows it, and so I'm not going to be useful, and I'm going. So it's, I see that it's still there, but it's less frequent and it's less intense. Yeah.
Thank you. Wow, I'm touched by the depth at which these systemic things function, that they can shape, our choices to such a degree that would otherwise from the outside look like just a personal quirk, Yeah. And I'm wondering if you have anything you want to say from your context. You don't have to. obviously.
I had a thought. I was also thinking that, of course, we need knowledge, like when research is done and people know things, and within that also to have spaciousness for intuition, because so much of intuition is seen as not being knowledge.
Yeah, thank you. Natalie, are you within the same thread?
Yes. Okay. Yes, on the question of knowledge, 2 points I'd like to make is also in the sentence structure and then in the sources and whose knowledge is value. I think for me, being raised out of the dominant system, I speak in knowing. So my sentence structure speaks as if I know. It doesn't matter if I do know, if I don't know, it's just my even now I'm doing it. So I speak as if I know, which is a strategy to minimize dissent, right? And so it's a dominant strategy. And it always, yeah, it's a way of yeah, so that's a way of just expressing in a sentence construction. The other one is like whose knowledge is valued. When you look at, for example, colonialism and midwifery, right? So we as women have been midwifed for centuries. But then when European law came, they gave licenses to doctors, right? And so then you have bodies of knowledge given to certain people who have access to, through education, to those licenses. And for example, like knowledge on fistula, right, was created by experimentation on slave women, because the belief was that Black women did not feel as much pain. So there was a whole body of knowledge created on the extraction and abuse of Black women that we now consider as regular medicine, right? Even the study of cancer cells, right? So there's like Henrietta Lacks, whose cells were extracted out of her without her knowledge, and still continues. I'm in Baltimore, so that's from Johns Hopkins, who continues to be experimented on and used to increase the knowledge on cancer from an extraction that was done without somebody's consent. So there's the sources of knowledge, there is whose knowledge is values and licensed to be mainstreamed. And then there's, to me, also culturally, like how I structure and speak that says I'm knowledgeable and establishes my dominance as I speak. So just a couple more things on knowledge.
Thank you. Alaska? Yeah.
I'm also wondering how to tie privilege around knowledge to liberation for all. So it's not like, I can't say that now I'm only going to rely on intuition. I'm saying the example like it, or now, so the liberation for all is for us to see where is the liberation for me. Do I say this is my intuition and I'm right? Having that humility and moving and saying, okay, I do want your wisdom, the knowledge that you're carrying.
It's a bit of a sideline topic. My intuition says that the liberation is having freedom and agency in relation to knowledge. Liberation isn't about having more knowledge or having less knowledge or always relying more on intuition or always relying less on intuition. It's about being able to choose how I relate to knowledge from an empowered place of what's needed for the purpose at hand. What's needed, what's available, is there a gap? If so, what am I going to do about the gap, etc. Yeah.
I have a question related to previous what Aurelia said. I learned this is not because I want, it's because it's needed. And it lands in me as it's only because like it's kind of like instrumentalized me if I put myself into that place. And there's also something about my wantings or my gifts or my strengths from like.
Yes, for me it would be the intersection.
Yeah,
I wouldn't want anybody to learn something only because it's needed. If it's not relevant to that person's strengths or passion or openness or mystery or whatnot. And still, I also don't want to learn something just because I want to learn it, because then it's extractive.
Yeah, I think that situation could exist, but when we fully live in the vision, there's no urgency for what people learn to serve some function. It can just for self-nourishment or just for curiosity to explore something. And currently, that is a privilege for certain people. A lot of people don't have that privilege, just explore for.
I have more trust that these things will work themselves out when we are in an interdependent context, because the way you're talking about is still a fully individual context. And when it's a fully individual context, then it's either my passion and curiosity or what's needed, and there's an either or. But when we are actually in the dance of togetherness, it will look different in my mind.
Yeah, I'm very open to look at this.
Mhm.
Like when we speak is from that place. It's very delicate.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Thanks.
Uh-huh.
Thank you.
Alaska, are you in the same thread or a new one?
Partially, I'm very, I mean, my interest was, is your name Aurelia? Okay. When Aurelia spoke about, needing to get more, felt like she needed to get more knowledge so that she could be seen as legitimate, whereas maybe a white person wouldn't necessarily need to have the same credentials.
Man, or man, I don't want it to be made only about race.
Well, um, that's
White
that's where
women
my
have
struggle
this
is
too.
though. That's where my struggle is though. And where it, where am I creating that tension myself, or is the tension actually there? And
Oh, it's there
so maybe it's a different
systemically.
thread. Maybe it's a different thread.
It is systemically. There is pressure. If you don't prove yourself to be more than ... then you're going to be left behind. That phenomenon is statistically accurate. Yeah, definitely.
Yeah. Well, I mean, but kind of what I'm speaking of is not exactly that. It's that, all right, so I have kind of become a voice for people of color within a largely predominantly white organization. And I became that voice because I thought that I had privilege. I grew up around white people, and I thought that I that I had that privilege. I thought that I wasn't intimidated by, or that I could speak speak to these people in a way that they would listen. But then I found myself in many situations where actually I was triggered. I was activated by what they were saying, and the activation did come from um, basically racism and bias. And so then the reason why I came to NVC and then have been particularly interested in you is because I felt like I'm I'm a terrible I can't communicate. I need to learn how to communicate in such a way where these people will not find me threatening, and will be able to hear me. And so in that way, I feel like I am having to make myself in some ways more appealing or more something, and but at the same time learning how to communicate non-violently. I mean, it's really been quite revolutionary for me, and as well. So yeah, and then where I'm at now is in trying to invite more people of color to the table, and so much resistance around that, but I can wait. Thank you.
Do you have anything you want to say?
Um, I'm touched by your example and by your testimony, because there are things that I find similarity with my own story. And I think that at the beginning, when I connected with NVC, it was the same thing. I was trying to find a way to communicate in a way that would be accepted. And so the way I was connecting with NVC was leading me to try to fit even more in society. So there is a certain way to speak, and I come from France, and so the way of speaking is going to be very influenced by the norms of white people. So you need to speak kindly and with a certain tone that is often quite like this and all of it. And if you speak and express differently with a lot of movement, with a voice that is go up and down, this is perceived as dangerous or whatever. And so at that moment, I was using a lot NVC to adapt to society. And today, that's not what I want to do. And I don't think for me right now that this is so much liberatory, because it's just a different strategy to fit what society is expected of me. And I also come from an environment where I have learned and integrated white norms a lot, which gave me certain privilege. But I don't want to use NVC for that. And so today, what I'm trying to do is that NVC is supporting me to ground and to be able to bring my the information, and to support the others also to stretch a bit towards me. So I can stretch toward the person, but I want the person to stretch towards me. And so I know a lot of people of color who don't want to learn NVC because they have the impression that NVC is just going to teach them how to speak in a way that where they're going to be accepted. So that it's just going to push them to fit even more into the norms. So I understand that there is kind of a inner tension that is quite interesting. And I think that what we're trying to do in NGL is quite different. It's quite different. And it requires that there is the different people in the dialogue that agrees to go into a certain discomfort. And I imagine that if you are in an organization and that if you're not in the position of power, you may face people who are not able right now to go into discomfort. And therefore, the mechanism is that you try to fit into what is comfortable for them. I'm wondering if any of what I'm saying is kind of speaking to you.
Yes, I mean that is part of it. And actually, yeah, I mean, so the organization I'm in, the people that are in leadership, they profess to be trying to learn, trying to and it does take time. But with the other people of color, what I hear from them a lot is that they think that they are going to have to put in more of the labor, that not only are they're going to have to continuously have to educate and that yeah, it just And I don't know, maybe that's true. Maybe it is true that at least in the beginning, we do have to put in more work. I don't know.
Say things about alliance, about litigation. There are quite a few.
There's a lot, and it's very quite advanced. So I want to say just like one little bit of it, which is I want nonviolence, adopting the commitment to nonviolence is very deep. And part of it is I'm not ever doing anything for anyone. And so in a situation that you're facing, the question isn't, am I going to do the work or are they going to do the work? Because they are not going to do the work. They have the power. If they don't feel motivated to do the work, they won't. So just taking on a moral stance of it shouldn't be mine to do the work, they should do the work, doesn't move a situation anywhere. It's a very deep, kind of cruel, sober realization. If there's going to be movement, it will start from you. That doesn't mean you have to do anything. It just means you either recognize that that's so, or you keep fighting as if your anger can make the situation different by itself, which it never does.
Mm-hmm.
Then the question, is it, am I going to do the work or are they going to do the work? The question is, which work am I going to do? Am I going to do the work of leaving the organization? That's an option. I don't want to stay in an organization that requires so much work of me that keeps me really tired. I don't want to do that. That's one option. Another option is I'm going to do the inner work of mourning and coming to a place of acceptance that if I want to be in this organization, it will require me to accept things that otherwise are not very acceptable to me, and to do it in a way that leaves me without resentment. That's another option. Another option is to say, I want to have the sense of efficacy that comes from taking my agency seriously and making something happen. And in order to make something happen, given that those others don't feel motivated on their own to do this, means that my task is to bridge the gap and create a compelling enough reason for them to want to do it. Not to feel guilty and then do it. We don't gain anything by people doing something out of guilt or by things being imposed on them. It's like, can I create the conditions whereby these people will come forward and dialogue with me and want to learn from and with me and come forth and say what is true for them? Learn to hear me, learn to speak in a way that's easier for me. Can I create the conditions for that to happen? That's a very exciting experiment for some people. And it's very different from, I have to do the work. I never want anybody to do any work because I have to do their work because they won't. It's not true. You have several options. And it's not like this is a list of all the available options. There are others, but these are three really potent ones.
Yeah.
Does that
no, yes, that very much speaks to me, and it is what I'm doing. I know that it is what I'm doing. And
so if you are taking this on and want to take it on, I want to offer you one piece of feedback, if you are open to it,
Yes.
which is that the more you're able to see their shared humanity and have the most generous narrative about why they're not engaging with you, the more likely you are to create an alliance with them that will support them in coming towards you. If you judge them, even if you never say it, they will feel it and they will become more defensive. And in the way that you talked here, I experienced judgment of those people without knowing who they are. I experienced it energetically, and I don't remember specifically, but in some of the words that you said. So this would be task number one, is to work to be able to come to the table from a position of, these are my brothers and sisters, they are kin. Our liberation depends on each other. I want this to move. I'll find them. Rather than, oh, they're so awful, they're ogres, they don't see anything, I have to do the work. Do you see the difference?
Yes.
Yeah. It's a big chunk of feedback, and I'm saying it without any sense that you have to either. It's really up to you what you want to do. I just want us to make those decisions with open eyes about what things mean, rather than from some kind of like ideological moral high ground that says, it's not my job, I'm not supposed to educate you, you're supposed to do your work. That one, even if it feels righteous and potent in a certain moment, I don't have a sense it will move an organization anywhere. That's the piece that is crucial.
Yeah. No, I agree. And NVC really is giving me it is giving me an appreciation of other people, and also a separation. You know, it's the separation of understanding that's them, and that's they're coming from their own experience, and to be able to, you know, and in order to be able to have compassion for everybody, but yeah, I mean, I had to get away from being activated by every by everything. And first I needed to even understand that that's what was happening, because I thought that what was happening was that I was standing up for myself, or, you know, these kinds of things. And then I realized, no, I'm being activated here. So, and then, yeah, and then NVC really, I really appreciate, I appreciate it so much, being able to have this separation of experiences.
What's mine is what's not mine.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. Let's just take a break, because there's so much packed into this story, so much pain in so many places in the world. But this is an example of. Noor?
Yes, hello. I want to start by saying, Aurelia, there's something in your sharing, the like authenticity that you shared, that gave permission for something in me to open, and I just found
Who are you
myself.
talking to?
Aurelia.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I feel like it cracked something in me, and I'm not fully clear what it is. I have some ideas, but like I've just been finding myself mourning and entering a softer, more silent space. And I know it's related to knowledge consumption and individual training. So I wanted to thank you first just like you're sharing your story, it really, yeah, it just connected me with mourning. I think it's this, it gave me permission to name something within myself that I don't think I was doing. And there was something in just the simplicity of your sharing without shame that helped open something in me. So I want to thank you for that. Yeah. And then, yeah, and I'll also share that, like, I guess I do have I have had shame around the ways in which I've been individually trained in American culture. And almost like a part of me that's like, I can't be this way in, in this kind of culture. And then almost like feeling like I have to, I don't know, suppress that or pretend it's not there or something like that. So I think there was something about, that's why it was significant to me. And then, okay, I don't want to skip over that too quickly.
Please.
Thank you. So I have a question, a clarifying question on this thread, and then I do have something else. Mickey, there's something you said in passing that I caught, and it like, raised
Yeah,
my.
you were like this kind of predator bird that looks like, there it is, I caught it.
There was something, you say things sometimes almost sweepingly, but I pay attention. And
I know that's what I mean. That's
yes,
what I was just saying.
yeah.
This giving of your attention is
Yeah.
something that I'm very aware of. You said, "Oh, you said this thing."
Yeah, thank you. I guess I would rather not be associated with a predator, but okay, I'll take it.
I understand why you said that, but there's actually something of great beauty when you watch a big predator bird and how meticulously it looks for the thing and then goes for it. It's that quality. It's
the
not
quality of attention and focus and like dedication.
Yeah, more so than I don't.
I'll take it, Mickey. Thanks for explaining. So it was when you were talking and you mentioned resilience. It was within this context of studying or learning is it coming to protect oneself? And then you mentioned or to gain resilience, and then it made me think like somehow being motivated to want to be resilient or gain resilience coming from this scarcity, coming partially from the scarcity and this like wanting to protect oneself because of that. And I had not thought of it in that way until your comment. And so I just wanted to ask you, was I understanding you correctly? And if there's anything else you wanted to say about that.
It may have actually been a very random moment of what I said. I don't have a memory of what I was thinking in that moment. Now that you're bringing it up, I see a difference between developing resilience to make my life better and developing resilience so I can serve better.
Oh, beautiful.
This feel different to me.
Mm-hmm. Developing resilience to serve life better, or what was the former thing?
To make my life better. Or
Okay.
to make my life.
Yeah, I get the difference. Yeah, so it's individual versus like collective.
Yes.
Okay. Yeah. I makes sense. And I want to name, I don't know if we're done with this thread, but I have like a particularly, feels important to me to bring a topic today if there's space and time and all of that. And I don't know if now is the time or not, but I just want to name, there's something that I think would benefit the group.
Can you say what it is, or you're gonna keep us in the dark?
I can do it if and how is okay. I wanted to check. I'm really struggling with something within myself around I want to be able to see this differently. I had been dating someone for several months, almost a year actually, and he's a white man, and he's from a rural working class background, and one of the areas we were primary area we were not aligned with was around power and privilege, and I would experience him as making microaggressions, white splaining me, and I actually ultimately reached my limit, and I did something I've never done, which is I kicked him out of my house 2 weeks ago. And that was like, and then we had some closure conversations, but um, he had come to my place right after Trump had gotten shot, and he came in extremely charged, and he, is a fan of Trump. And um, I I was sharing with him something from my culture, which was my love for Afghan music. I was sharing with him an Afghan folk singer. And I said to him, as an Afghan American, dot, dot, dot. And he starts to tell me that my way of identifying is incorrect. I'm not an Afghan American. I'm an American of Afghan descent. And it actually means the same thing, but he's done that. We already had this conversation twice. And then he was telling me that my culture doesn't even matter to me, which, I mean, that was really crossing a line with me, because it's not true. And then he's just said over the time I've known him things that I don't even know how to respond to, because they seem so they throw me so off by loop. Like, he will say white people are the most racially oppressed group in the US. And I don't even know how to respond to that, to be honest with you. And um so I've kind of avoided topics with him around this after early on, when we would kind of like, I could see we weren't seeing eye to eye about certain things. And I was trying to open him to listening and open his heart, but he just wasn't going there with me. So I hate that it ended the way it did, because I think the way he's internalized it is a way of like being somehow persecuted as this white victim kind of thing. And I know that because he comes from a working class white background, it's harder for him to acknowledge his white privilege in some ways, because I think he conflates it a little bit, like, oh, I don't have, I have to work really hard to, etc. And I've tried to hold space for that, but I hate that I'm leaving the situation, Mickey, and everyone else. Like, literally, like, now there's a part of me that's like, I kind of understand why I've seen on dating profiles people will put stuff like, I will not, if you're like, a Trump supporter or whatever, like, I will, not interested. And now I wasn't that kind of person, but having had this experience with this person, I don't know, it's kind of like pulling teeth and nail. Is that the expression? And it's like a waste of energy. And so I wonder if there's anything you can offer me to help around this situation, because I feel like I wanted to handle it better. And I know you shared the quote that it's the oppressed, not the oppressors, that will liberate. It doesn't come from you, it comes from someone else. But I just felt the person was not open. And I just, so what I didn't, there wasn't much progress. And I had my own capacity limits.
The first thing is, I want to just take a breath with you, and just admire you for the willingness to bring this forward.
Thank you.
It's such a difficult topic.
Thank you. And it's brought up a lot of pain for me too. And since that around like feeling a lack of belonging with white Americans growing up in the US. And I've just been looking at like what's happening for me around white people here. So it's brought up a lot for me actually since then.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I'd like to take a breath. I'll take a breath.
Yes. And I also just want you to acknowledge Elia for what you did, and seeing the way that opened the door and what you shared, that it's so complex. Yeah, so let's take a breath. Yeah.
And before you say anything else, Mickey, I just also want to say, like, ever since that, well, and ever since, honestly, I've been studying your work since 2020 and joining the calls, I feel like I've become like unnumbed from my experience with like prejudice and stuff. Like, I think that I had become numb to it, to be honest. And like, my experience since like joining calls with you, power and privilege and all of that, is I feel less desensitized, more sensitized. But I've been struggling with like, I feel separation with white people more than I did before. Before, I think I wasn't even aware of it. It was just there. And I felt like an outsider. Now I feel anger and I just judge them as being like ignorant, not all of them, but like I just struggle with that, you know? And I don't want to experience that, but there is a way in which I feel like I dismiss them, and I'm obviously protecting myself from feeling more of my pain around it, and I'm working on it. But I get stuck. I get stuck in the anger.
Hmm.
And you know, Aurelia, when you're saying like you want people to stretch to you too, if you're stretching to them, like I think part of my mourning is I never felt like white people stretched towards me. I never felt like they stretched towards me. So there's a part of me that's like, why? Why would I want to go stretch towards you? I feel like I've tried, but if there's no stretching back, it's like, fuck this and fuck you. I don't want to try.
I want to acknowledge there's a whole bunch of white people on the call, and you're choosing to do this, which to me is an act of implicit trust.
Thank you. Yeah.
That maybe this group of white people can actually receive and take in what you're saying.
Thank you for naming that, Mickey. I actually switched it to gallery view so I could take it in because I had pinned you because I felt safer looking at the three of you first. And now I just switched it to gallery view so I can take that in.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. It's just been hard. I've really been reflecting a lot how much since childhood I always felt like received no interest in me being in myself growing up in the US and you know going to predominantly white schools, magnet program schools, etc.
Yeah.
Feel open to receive.
My first question that came a few minutes ago, and it was like, okay, that's my first question I want to ask you. It came when you said, this is not how I want to treat white people.
Yeah.
And my first question is, how do you want to treat white people?
Well, like I want to give the benefit of the doubt. I want to treat them with like respect, and I don't want to be dismissive.
No. Keep staying in the positive.
Okay. I want to treat white people with respect. I want to treat white people with kindness, with openness, I want to treat white people with openness. I want to treat white. Yeah.
Yeah. Let's rest in that openness.
Okay.
Just feel the contours of that within you, that longing to treat white people with openness. Just feel it.
And I can just feel a lot of like parts of me that are wanting to like, it just feels hard.
Yeah. I'm not in any way pretending this is a small task. I just have learned enough to know that without having a picture of what we want,
Yeah.
our capacity to make progress is smaller.
Okay, that makes sense, Mickey.
So let's just take another moment for you to just feel within you what it's like to want to treat people, white people, with openness.
I mean, I feel touched by it because that is true in my heart. Like it comes from my heart.
Yeah.
It's aligned with my value and my kind of like, I would call it the beauty of my heart.
Yeah,
Mhm.
of course it is.
I can't feel my mind going into all of the reasons why I'm not ready to, or that or the other.
This is not about what you're going to do tomorrow morning.
Okay.
This is about what you want at the depth of your heart and to just make contact with that so it's available to you as a resource.
Okay. Yeah, it feels nice actually to connect with it. It's like,
Yeah.
oh yeah, this is my want. Like this, I like how you encourage me to focus on the positive because it helped me switch into that. See, I see
Yeah.
what you're doing, Nikki.
You see what?
I see what you're doing. I have a reflexive awareness. I can see your interventions while I'm with you at the same time.
Free of charge. Go use it with your clients now.
Yeah, I think it's that clinician part of me that's like, oh wow, that's cool.
I'm often aware of it, that whatever I do with you, you will then do with your clients.
Really? You're aware of that?
Of course.
Oh, I didn't know that. We never talked about it.
We don't need to. It's
Oh, okay.
obvious.
Oh,
What
okay.
would be great is that when you use it with your client, then you share the experience that you have.
Yes.
So what you are learning from it, we
Oh,
can learn. That
oh,
would be
that's
really
yeah. Well, I never told you, Mickey, but I'm teaching a course on your core commitments. I'm on the 4th one right now, and it's been really wonderful and rich.
Would you be up to send an email with what is wonderful about it? What have you learned? What are
Oh.
appreciation that you have, and send it to Miki, and she could read it to us. I think we would really enjoy receiving that.
Yeah, I'm willing to do that.
He knows me well.
I can tell. I can tell.
Okay.
Hmm.
Next, I want to say that the choice about how much to engage with a white person, a Christian person, if I am a Jew, a man, if I'm a woman, whatever, the choice to engage with the person who, along at least one dimension, is in a position of privilege in relation to me, that choice is voluntary. It is absolutely voluntary. I mean, ultimately, every choice is voluntary, but I really want to highlight it that you do not have to. It's the same as I said to Alaska, but it's a different context.
You know, that was helpful, Mickey, because it just released some shit in me around that quote, that it's the oppressed, not the oppressors that will liberate. It just, I feel like when you said it, it helped release a should in me.
Yeah. It isn't actually a should, that quote.
I know
It's
it's
a
not. I took it as a should. The activist in me was like, oh, you know, I now have to da, da, da. And so I converted. I know that's not what the quote was saying.
Yeah, I just want to say what it is, which isn't a should. It's a brutal busting of an illusion.
Mm.
that it is possible to just sit somewhere, all of us, and go sit and go, let them get their shit together. It won't happen.
Yeah.
So if none of us, in relation to the people who are in positions of privilege in relation to us, if none of us take on the task, then it won't happen.
I can say that privilege also deprives you of the privilege to see what the person without privilege can see. So they're not seeing it enough or feeling it enough to want to do something about it.
Yeah, exactly. That's the systemic part. Thank you, Menaka. Yeah.
Yeah,
I know
I'll get to the system.
that's where I can have compassion. And it's like when you ask me how do I want to treat white people, Mickey, it's also
compassion.
It's with compassion, it's with the systemic lens, but it's hard sometimes to like live and inhabit that. Like it's like,
yeah,
I think when I receive an acknowledgement, I guess like maybe there's a part of me that wants more acknowledgement from more white people around like, oh yeah, like I do have this training and this is how it shows up. I think that would somehow, maybe I need to expose myself more to groups like that.
Okay, we'll get to this. It all fits within what I wanted to tell you.
Okay.
So how do you know whether to make the choice or not? Because it's not always going to be the same. There are several dimensions. One is it on purpose to put the energy into this relationship or into this context? Is it on purpose? And sometimes it is, and sometimes it isn't. It depends on what my purpose is or what the purpose of the context is.
Yeah, makes sense.
Then, is it within capacity? It may be on purpose and not within capacity. So, with this person that you were talking about, that you were dating for a while, it clearly wasn't within capacity.
Yeah.
It just wasn't. You can't change that by will. And if something is not within capacity, the key element is to exit the situation without blaming either yourself or the other person.
Okay.
And that's a first piece, is just because you didn't have the capacity to bridge with him doesn't mean that there's something wrong with him.
Yeah. I mean, to be honest with you, Mickey, this is revealing. It wasn't on purpose either to put energy in it because I never saw serious potential with him from the beginning. So we started out as friends and then it became friends with benefits. And I'm calling it dating, but we never formally called it that. So I actually chose to, like when I would see where it was going early on when we had conversations like this, I just said to him, look, I don't know that we're going to see eye to eye, so how about we not have these conversations? It's just that it would leak from him. Sometimes it would leak.
Yes, so let me say what I see. And you and I have a long history, and you generally accept my brutal illusion busting. So I just want to say this because sometimes other people can see it and go like, oh my God, is she going to speak to me like this? Not necessarily. It's specific to Noor because we have that relationship. In the moment of saying, let's not have these conversations, what you are doing is putting a cap on how much intimacy you can have.
Yeah,
and from then,
I'm aware of that.
And from then on, it becomes at least a semi-instrumental relationship.
What do you mean by semi-instrumental?
It's, I don't know, the benefits. You're continuing to relate to him for the benefits, not because you want to relate to behold the beauty of this human heart in front of you, however distorted it is on the surface.
I guess I just sensed early on that like there wasn't the openness for transformation, or like the openness to be changed by what I would share. So then I thought, well, what's the point?
Then it may have been more in integrity to say, then let's not continue to engage with each other. Back then, not wait until it gets so toxic that you can't stand it.
Yeah. Well, I feel like if yeah.
But I also want to be rigorous to say there wasn't openness. You don't know that. What you do know is there isn't enough openness for what is within capacity for me to create as bridging. The moment you say there isn't enough openness, you're saying it's his fault.
Yeah, I get that when you said that, like said it like that. That's helpful.
That's
There
why
is
many years ago,
capacity.
I decided there's no such thing as a difficult person. There's only a person that is beyond my capacity.
You know what? He called me difficult. It's funny because he called me difficult.
Next time somebody calls you difficult, say, I guess I'm beyond your capacity. Okay. And now I want to give you a piece of very specific systemic analysis about a very little understood topic in the US, which I have looked into more than most. And I'm going to speak about it not like I know. I have some bits of information that I feel very sad about them not being looked at and thought about in leftist circles in the US. And I have no idea if this phenomenon is replicated in other parts of the world. So I'm speaking at the moment specifically to a US context. Have you heard of deaths of despair?
I have heard it, I think, from you, but I'm not recalling. I'm pretty sure you mentioned it some context.
Okay. I don't remember the specific numbers. Statistically, the white working class in the US now has been declining in life expectancy, even relative to the Black population. And those deaths are from addictions, heart attacks, and things like diabetes, all of which are diseases of stress and alienation. So, in a very real material way, for some segment of the white population in the US, what your friend told you appears to me to be accurate.
Oh, okay. Okay. Thank you for that. That's helpful to hear. Let me just take that in. Hold on.
Yeah, because I'm not done and I want to say one more piece.
But he said the word that they're the most oppressed group in the US. White people are the most oppressed group in the US.
That language is very non-specific and useless.
Yeah, exactly.
But I think he's pointing to this phenomenon.
Okay.
There's a lot of social analysis about why the white working class came to this position. I know that there's a similar phenomenon in the UK also. It's a sub-phenomenon of neoliberalism, and I don't want to get into the lots of the specifics, but it explains a lot of the Trump phenomenon and fascism 100 years ago. There is another piece that I have been thinking about for some years, which is that especially within identity politics circles, the role and significance of class is not well theorized.
Mm.
So it goes in both ways. Class privilege can mask oppression, which I have a beautiful story to illustrate. I was once with my then partner. Her sister was getting married to a super rich young man, and the wedding was at their family's estate. It just like amazing wealth where they owned like a ridge somewhere in the mountains, and it looked on, the house was so big, I got lost in it and couldn't find my way down the stairs for a few minutes. I mean, it's like that kind of rich. And at a certain point, we're standing there by where all the gifts are, and cards and whatever. And so many of them say Mr. and Mrs. John Smith. It wasn't John Smith, but you know that thing? It's like it's almost passé, but in rich circles, it still lives. Mr. and Mrs. John Smith. Like, tell me that I am Mrs. John Smith. I mean, you see the layers and layers and layers of women's oppression that is built into that innocent looking card. So my then partner and I are sitting there talking about it. Unbeknownst to us, the mother walks down the stairs and catches us in action. And then she says something. This is just something that women bring on themselves. It's only how you feel. Something like this, like women are not oppressed. And bang, I understood. She's so rich that even with all the shit that she's getting as a woman, she doesn't feel it.
Mm. Mm-hmm.
And I've seen examples like this. Like, look at Clarence Thomas. He identified with white men. It doesn't matter that he's a Black man. In his way of being, he identifies with white men. It's only the class privilege that makes it possible for him to do that and for others to tolerate him. Conversely, if you have if you are of a class background where you are struggling on the material plane, to tell you that you have white privilege is a deep insult. Because you don't feel it. And it's not like middle class or upper class white people do feel it, but they don't feel oppressed. So they would go, huh? What are you talking about? I just live my life. But he will say, huh? What are you talking about? I'm oppressed. Leave me alone with your stupid ass white privilege and language. I don't have that.
Yeah, and I know with him, Mickey, he grew up in poverty and he really struggled, like, they run stamps and stuff like that. So he would say to me, oh, you're...
Oh my God, I was mixed up. I thought it was ending in 30 minutes. And it's in 30 minutes, I have a class that starts. I completely spaced out. Oh, well. It's your fault, exactly. See, Menaka said, I didn't say.
Hey, what was that? There isn't enough openness with it. No, hold
on. Okay. So anyway, you got a handful, and I think that's enough.
Yeah, to wrap this, I was just gonna say, I mean, I know he grew up in poverty, and he would say to me stuff like, well, you're privileged. He's like, I would have loved to have gone to Cambridge like you did. And
exactly.
I was, I didn't pay, I took out student loans. But anyways, I think he was trying to be seen in the ways that he didn't have privilege. Yeah.
Yeah. And it doesn't mean that he doesn't have white privilege. Yeah. It's that talking with him about it will not bridge anything.
Then
And
what do you do?
You can only bridge with people based on what is true for them. You can't bridge with people based on what is true for you, because then you're asking them to bridge with you.
Oh.
And then we're back to, it's not my job.
Okay, thank you. That was super helpful, that specific last piece.
And your question, I think, was so, all this conversation, I imagine, gave tons of things for people. So I'm very grateful to you for your question, as I usually am.
Thank you to everyone. Yeah, thank you very much.
All right, let's just very quickly hear from a couple of people. What are you taking with you from today? Like one nugget. I especially want to hear from Winky, just because you've never been here. And did you get what you came here for?
More than what I hoped for.
Can you say one thing? Because I love specifics.
I was very moved by that whole dialogue with Noor.
Thank you. Anyone else? What are you taking with you? One nugget, one specific thing. I'd like to hear a couple and then get a little break before I start a course on the NVC Academy in now 28 minutes.
I have something. I don't know if you can hear me.
Yes.
Okay, it's from that conversation with Noor also. So appreciating it. I think what I'm seeing is, I knew this too, but my pattern is towards not engaging because I know I don't have that capacity. Not even putting myself in places where I would know that I can engage with this. Yeah.
Thank you. Jane?
I'm usually very specific. I usually write down specific things that you said. This is very general. Everything, all of the interactions with Alaska and with Noor, I translate into relationship with men, in my case, a specific man, and it just matches completely. I'm doing all the work. Unless I get to that place where I have compassion for the systemic piece that he is living, and that's why I'm staying. That's why I'm staying, because I want to get there so badly. So thank you very much.
Thank you, everyone. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you so much. Lovely to be with everyone. Bye.
Thank you.